In the closing years of the 19th century, the once vast freedom of the Great Plains was fading into memory. The era of the buffalo hunters, the horse warriors, and the open horizon was ending. What had begun centuries earlier as the meeting of two worlds, indigenous America and European colonization, was reaching its tragic final act. And that act would unfold in the bitter cold of South Dakota, at a place called Wounded Knee. By 1890, the Indian Wars had nearly come to an end. Most native nations had been forced onto reservations, their land carved away, their traditions suppressed, and their people confined under federal control. The Lakota Sioux, proud defenders of the plains, had seen their power broken after the Battle of Little Bighorn, and the death of leaders like Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull. Yet, among the despair, there flickered a final spark of hope, a spiritual movement that promised renewal. That movement was the Ghost Dance. It began with a Paiute prophet named Wovoka, who had a vision that a great change was coming. He taught that through prayer, peace, and the sacred dance, Native people could reunite with their ancestors, the buffalo would return, and the white man's domination would fade away. To the Lakota, who had endured years of starvation and broken promises, this message offered spiritual strength. But to the U.S. government, it looked like rebellion. In 1890, fear spread through the white settlements and military posts of the Dakota Territory. Agents and officers misunderstood the ghost dance as a war ritual. Newspapers called it an uprising. Soldiers were dispatched to the reservations to disarm the Lakota and crush any sign of resistance. Among those who believed in the ghost dance was the great Hunkpapa leader, Sitting Bull, the same man who had once defeated Custer at Little Bighorn. But Sitting Bull's faith in the new movement would cost him his life. On December 15, 1890, tribal police, acting under orders from the U.S. Indian Agency, came to arrest him. In the struggle that followed, shots were fired and Sitting Bull was killed. His followers, grief-stricken and terrified, fled south toward the Badlands and the Pine Ridge Reservation, seeking protection under Chief Spotted Elk, also known as Bigfoot. Bigfoot was a mini-Kanju Lakota, known as a peacekeeper. He was ill with pneumonia and sought to avoid conflict, but the U.S. Army had orders to intercept and escort his band to a military post. On December 28, 1890, the 7th Cavalry, Custer S. Old Regiment, caught up with Bigfoot S. people near Wounded Knee Creek. They were cold, hungry, and exhausted. Still, they raised a white flag of peace. The next morning, on December 29th, the soldiers surrounded the encampment. Nearly 350 Lakota men, women, and children were gathered on the frozen ground. The troops ordered them to surrender all weapons. A search began, tense and chaotic. Accounts vary, but somewhere amid the confusion, a shot was fired. What followed was not a battle. It was a massacre. The soldiers opened fire with rifles and Hotchkiss cannons. Within moments, panic erupted. The Lakota, unarmed or only lightly armed, scattered in every direction. Mothers clutched their children as gunfire tore through the camp. Warriors tried to shield their families, but they were cut down. Even those who fled were chased and shot as they ran across the snowy plains. When the smoke cleared, the ground was littered with bodies. At least 150 Lakota were dead. Many historians believe the toll was closer to 300. 2/3 of them were women and children. 25 U.S. soldiers also died, most from friendly fire. The bitter wind swept over the lifeless forms as the sun set on one of the darkest days in American history. In the aftermath, the soldiers collected their dead and left the Lakota where they fell. Days later, a burial party returned to dig a mass grave on a hillside overlooking Wounded Knee Creek. The frozen bodies of men, women, and children were laid together beneath the snow, their lives extinguished by fear and misunderstanding. Among the few survivors were those who carried the memory of what happened, and they would tell their story for generations. The massacre at Wounded Knee marked the symbolic end of the Indian Wars, a final, brutal punctuation to centuries of conflict and colonization. It was the last major armed confrontation between Native Americans and the U.S. military. But it was not the end of Native resistance. The spirit of survival lived on in every family that remembered, every prayer that was whispered over the graves, and every song that spoke of loss and endurance. Despite the tragedy, the Lakota people endured. Their culture, language, and faith were not erased. In the decades that followed, Native voices began to rise again through activism, storytelling, and art. Wounded Knee became not just a place of mourning, but a symbol of resilience. In 1973, that symbol came alive once more. Members of the American Indian Movement, or AIM, occupied the town of Wounded Knee for 71 days, demanding justice for Native people and recognition of treaty rights. The world watched as history repeated itself, this time through protest rather than massacre. The stand at Wounded Knee connected past and present, showing that the struggle for sovereignty and dignity had never ended. Today, Wounded Knee stands as sacred ground. Visitors come not to see a battlefield, but to pay respect. There are no monuments of triumph, only memorials of remembrance. The wind still moves across the plains, carrying the echoes of songs sung in mourning and hope. The spirits of those lost in 1890 remain part of the land, a living reminder of both tragedy and endurance. The story of Wounded Knee is more than a history of loss. It is a story of survival, a reminder that even in the face of unspeakable cruelty, a people can endure. The Lakota, like so many indigenous nations, continue to fight for their rights, their language, and their sacred traditions. Their survival is an act of defiance and honor, a testament to the strength of spirit that no army could destroy. To understand Wounded Knee is to confront the truth about America's past, a past filled with both courage and cruelty, freedom and betrayal. It asks us to remember not only the pain, but the resilience. It reminds us that history is not just dates and names, it is human lives, each one precious and irreplaceable. The Trail of Tears and Wounded Knee are linked by the same story, the relentless push for land, control, and domination. Yet both are also connected by the unbreakable will of Native peoples who refuse to vanish. The land remembers, and so must we. As we look back on Wounded Knee, we are called not only to mourn, but to learn. The echoes of that winter morning in 1890 still reach us today, urging empathy, justice, and understanding. The story does not belong to the past alone. It is part of who we are now, and who we must strive to become. If you found this story meaningful, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others who seek to understand the deeper history of America. Every story we tell helps keep truth alive, and if there is another chapter of Native American history, or any moment in history you'd like us to explore, let us know in the comments below. Your voice helps us bring the past to life and ensure that these stories are never forgotten. Because history, when remembered, has the power to heal, and when shared, has the power to unite.